You can grab a copy of the slide deck. It's in the chat right now, and then you'll be able to follow along. The first thing I want to do is kind of show you the best way that I think you could set up kind of your workflow right now. If you are at home or in your classroom and you've got 2 monitors, the way I would recommend doing this is to have me up on one screen, and then on the other screen have the slide deck, and eventually have your Google site that you're working on, so you can kind of see both of those things. If you not have dual screens, I'll show you kind of how I would approach it right now. So I'm going to share my whole desktop with you. So you'll see here's my little Meet window where I'm talking with all of you. And then what I would do is I would break that thing out and put that on one half of your desktop. And then on the other half of your desktop, have the slide deck there. So those 2 things are kind of side by side, and you can see my presentation and hear me, but you'll also have a space where you can work on your own site. But that's the one limitation of doing this online is it's tough to tinker in sites and be able to see me at the same time. So if you kind of split your screens this way and put one on the left side and the other on the right side, that might be a good workflow for you. All right, so I'm going to go back and kick this thing off. Let's see. It's the one I want to share. All right, here we go. So Google Sites for Teachers. Let's go ahead and dive right into this thing. So here's kind of our outline for today. I want to start by saying we're only going to have an hour together. That's not going to be enough time for you to totally build out your new teacher website. So my goal isn't necessarily for you to have everything done. It's also not to show you every single feature in Sites. It's more to help you get comfortable, figure out where you can find certain things, and give you a chance to start experimenting on your own and kind of clicking, so that when we leave, you feel confident that you can take it from here and kind of continue to put content onto your new website, and then ultimately get a link that you can share with other people out to your brand new website. So we're going to start by talking about why we're doing this workshop in the first place, and then I'm going to walk you through how do you set up a new site, how do you add content to it, how do we organize things on the page and customize your layout and your theme, how can you add extra pages onto your site, how can you embed additional content to it, and then ultimately how can you publish your site at the end. So it's going to be a lot of information. We're going to go over a whole lot. But again, this slide deck will be a great resource for you afterwards and will help kind of jog your memory on all the stuff that I go over today. All right, before we get rolling, anybody have any questions for me? All right, let's go ahead and begin then. So the first thing is, why are we doing this? Why are we getting together in the summer and talking about that? That's because the district is transitioning from the old Blackboard website hosting tool. Blackboard's been acquired and is now owned by a company called Finalsite. And Finalsite has new updated platforms that they're rolling all of their districts over to. And in the new Finalsite platform, there is no teacher pages area anymore. And you all know on our old website, if you go there, most of those teacher pages end up blank. But some people really use the teacher pages feature quite a bit. You're probably those people, and that's why you're attending this session. So knowing that teacher pages just weren't going to be a thing on the new website anymore, and knowing that some teachers still wanted to have teacher pages, the easiest, most clear way to do that is to just build it as a Google site, which is something I did a long time ago. I mean, I'll be honest, I never loved the Blackboard interface. So I always just built a website using Google Sites, and then I took that and I linked that to my teacher page on the website. And that was way better. I felt like I had way more customizable control and could do all sorts of neat things that way. So I want to help you kind of do the same thing today. What you ultimately end up building is going to be totally up to you. So you're going to get to decide, hey, do you want to have a website or not? It's not required. It's not mandatory. But if you want to have a website, how do you build it? And then what kind of stuff could you put on it? Again, totally up to you. There are no minimum requirements or anything like that. It's just whatever makes sense to you, that's what you'll put on your site. So I also want to kind of talk about this really quickly. How do these two things live together? Isn't Google Classroom kind of a website? And the answer is yes. My pitch to you would be Google Classroom is really for us a learning management system. That's where we are going to push out assignments to students, and that's where students will be able to turn in assignments to us. So I like to think of it as like a digital classroom, just like my students come to my class every day and we pass out papers and they turn in papers, is where I can do all of that stuff digitally. What Google Classroom is really good for that, but it's not public facing. Parents, for instance, don't have a login to Google Classroom. It's not designed for parents to turn in assignments, obviously. So Google Classroom is great for those in-class activities, but many of us still want to have kind of a traditional website, something that's more public facing, a place for parents and guardians and family and the public to get general information about your class, general information about you, long-term things that are more than like daily classwork or homework assignments or things like that. So I think these two can kind of live side by side. What do you need? Some teachers do a Google Classroom and that's it. That's fine. Some teachers don't use Google Classroom. They just have a website and that's it. That's totally fine too. Many teachers choose to have both of these and they use them for different purposes. Google Classroom is my in-class assignments and things like that. And Google Sites is not where I'm going to put daily homework assignments, but that's where I'm going to put more long-term information that's going to be public-facing for parents and guardians primarily. So the next thing I want to share with you is this page, because I think one of the best ways to learn how to build a good Google site is to take a look at examples and borrow and steal from other teachers that have already kind of figured out things that you like and that you look at and you're like, oh, I like that. I want to do something like that on my page too. So don't feel like you need to click on all of these examples right now. This is actually more of a for later. You can get in and kind of play around with these. But I want you to notice the link up at the top is a link to our EdTech Coach website. That's the one that you've probably seen before. That's the one that I and my colleagues build for you. That whole thing is built with Google Sites. We've spent quite a bit of time on it. So feel free to get on there. If there's anything that we do that you're like, that looks good, steal all of our good ideas, steal all of our good aesthetics, borrow that for your own purposes. But beyond that, I wanted to also show you some examples of different elementary sites and different secondary sites just to kind of get the wheels turning in your mind of what maybe would be a good idea for you or not. These are all different grade levels, different content areas. Don't feel like, if you're a third grade teacher, don't feel like you only need to look at other third grade pages. You could look at Kinder and you could look at First and borrow some of their great ideas. So feel free to click around in all 20 of those examples a little bit later and just collect the best ideas that you see out there. And that'll at least give you some inspiration to get started on your own page. All right, let me pause again and find out, have any other questions come to mind so far for everybody? All right, so let's now go ahead and get ourselves started. How do you build a Google site? It's the same way you would build any other Google thing, a doc, a slide, a sheet. You've got two options. So I want everybody to do this right now. Go ahead and open up a new tab or make that new tab on a second screen or split your screen side by side so that you can kind of still hear me. Even if you don't see me, just make sure you can still hear me. And I want you to either go directly to sites.google.com. I'm a keyboard warrior, so I like typing that stuff out. Or if you want, you can go to your waffle. And inside the waffle, you can go down and find the Google Sites icon. So let's see if I can demo that for you right now. Okay, great. So I'm over here just on google.com, and I'm going to go to my waffle button. Actually, first I'm going to sign in. Sign in. Okay. And I'm going to go through here and I'm going to look for sites. Sometimes you have to go all the way down to the more from Google option. Oh, no. Now it's all falling apart. Give me 1 second. Let me close this door. I'm sure that's pretty noisy in the background, too. I'll be right back, everybody. Okay, so here I am. I'm over on a main Google web page. I'm just going to go to the waffle. Now, I have reorganized some of my icons, so yours may not be in the same order, but you're going to go down and find the Sites icon and click that, and that's going to then take you into Google Sites. So you'll notice I've got a bunch of Google sites here. I build like sites all the time. You might have none so far, and that's totally fine. You will eventually have some here as you start to build out some Google sites. The place you could start, don't start here, but you could start just by clicking that blank icon in the upper left, and that would build you a blank Google site. That's good, but we can do better than that. I want to show you something that my colleagues and I made for you. If instead of clicking blank, you go over here to the part that says template gallery and click that, you will then see that it loads a template gallery. And there are two different categories up here. One is the Redlands Unified School District template gallery, and one is the general over here. So you can toggle back and forth between those two. But you'll notice in Redlands Unified School District, we built a little template over here for you called Teacher Website Template. So if you click that, what it will do is it will make a copy of this template for you. And then on your screen will look like mine. You will basically have a good jumping off point for your website. So that'll save you a couple little clicks if you make a copy of that template that we prepared for you. And then instead of starting from scratch, you can start to kind of customize the template that we have here for you. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to my slide deck now. And I want you to basically keep hearing me. Maybe you're going to toggle back and take a look at my slide deck from time to time, but I want you primarily now to be looking at your new Google site because I want you to get curious. I want you to try clicking on things and experiment. You can't break it. I'm here with you right now, so if you feel like you did break it, you can just go, Caleb, I broke it. Help me. And I can either walk you through it or you can share your screen with all of us and we'll take a look at what you think you broke and we'll get it unraveled. But that's the main goal here for the next hour is to give you a chance to click on things, try things, and hopefully go, I got it. This is pretty straightforward. I always say if you can build a Google slide, you can build a Google site. It's kind of the same thing. If you're used to putting text boxes and images and moving content around on the page, a Google site is basically the same thing. So we grabbed the pre-made template. If you ever forget how to do this, we've got a little animated GIF in the slide deck so you can watch that again, and that'll refresh your memory of how you can grab that. And now what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at this next part where we're going to start your new site. There are three things here that I want to point out to you. One is if you take a look at number one, again on my slide deck, you'll notice that there are a couple of different places to name your website. The first is up at the very top, and that's the name of this file in your Google Drive. So for that, right now, it's called Teacher Website Template. But if you click up there on Teacher Website Template, you can modify the name and you can just call it like my website or something like that. But this is the name of the file that lives in your Google Drive. Nobody will see what that is except for you. So that's the little part up at the top that says untitled site right over here. Oops. Then the second arrow, the one pointing down here at the bottom where it says enter site name over here, kind of in the banner, that is the name of the website that will display on your website when somebody goes there. So for that, for me, I might put like Mr. Rothy's website or welcome to room 53 or whatever I want to call the name of the website, that will go right over here. Again, your choice. That's the part that will be public facing and that people will see. So that's basically part, number one over here on my example is two places to give it a name, and those don't necessarily have to be the same name. You can call it one thing in your drive and something else on the website. All right, now let's take a look at number two. In my example here, it says your page title, and on your page, it also says your page title. If you click on that, you're going to notice that's just a text box. And that is basically going to be the title of this page that we're looking at right now. Now, this might be the home page. So you could call it home, but that's kind of boring. So instead, right there, you might say Mr. Rothy's class, or you might say English 7, or you might call it Mr. Smith's 5th grade giraffes. I don't know. Whatever you want to call your page. Go ahead and give it a title right now. And remember, this is the title for not the whole website, but the title for this page that you're looking at right now, which is going to be kind of like the main page, the first thing that people see when they come to your website. The last part that I want to point out to you on my slide deck is what I've labeled number 3. And you'll notice down there in the bottom left, it's a little place where you can change your image. This allows you to change the background image on this header, the part that'll be up at the top of the page. So if you like the colored pencils that are there, keep using those. But just know everybody else is also starting with those colored pencils. So if you want to customize yours to something else, you can click on that at any point where it says image, and you can change it. So I've got a couple of options here. I can upload a new image. If you've got some picture saved on your computer that you're like, that's what I want to use as my banner, upload it. Or you can use select to go out online and select something that's there. So you can select it with a Google search or from your Drive or from Google Photos or wherever you would like. And then there's also a place for alt text. This would be for those that have like a visual impairment that are using software that reads the website out loud to them. You can type in alt text. So your alt text, might be pretty background with colored pencils, something like that, so that a visually impaired student would be able, or parent or guardian would be able to tell what the content is in the banner. So that's always a good practice too for accessibility. So I do recommend adding that in. So I'm just going to do a quick little demo, and hopefully you're playing around on your own right now too. Again, this is meant to be hands-on with you kind of modifying things. Oh yeah, we got a question that came in here. Why do pictures upload darker? Let me do a little demonstration of that really quickly. And that again is for accessibility purposes. So I'm going to go into select. And if you want, you can look at my little demo right now. And I'm going to go to search. And I'm going to use this Google search over here, and I'm going to search for elementary. I'm going to spell elementary correctly. Okay, there we go. And so I'm going to pick this picture right over here. All of these pictures are already licensed for me to be able to reuse them. I'm not doing any copyright violations because Google has already searched through and only given me the photos that I have permission to publish on my website. That's kind of a nice feature here. If you find all of your images through this Google search, you'll be good to go, copyright compliant already. So I'm going to click select, and I want you to notice when I do that, I get some sparkles down here in the bottom right-hand corner. It says adjusting for readability.
We're not seeing your screen.
Oh, I should probably share that. Let me do that again. All right, so I'm going to go back over here again. I'm going to go to image. I'm going to go to select. I'm going to search. I'm going to search for an elementary classroom. And so again, when I'm using this search, it's going to find just copyright compliant images for me. And I'm going to go find one that I like. Maybe I like this one. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to click select. And then I want you to notice down here in the bottom right, I get those sparkles. And it says adjusting for readability. When you do that, what it's going to do is it's going to either lighten or darken your photo so that there's a sufficient amount of contrast between the text that's here and the background. So let me turn off the sparkles really quick, just so that you can see it. When I turn these things off, I want you to notice that it's no longer legible. You can't read Mr. Rothy's class on that background. So when I turn this back on, that's Google automatically adjusting my image so that I'm meeting web accessibility standards. That's the nice thing about Google Sites, is it makes your site beautiful for you and make sure that you're not creating something that would be very difficult to access for those that may have some degree of color blindness or some visual impairment or something like that. So I always recommend leave those sparkles on, but it means sometimes you might find a picture and upload it, and then it like washes out the picture and you're like, it doesn't look any good anymore. If that's the case, no worries, just go find another picture and try again. Okay, Julie, I'd be happy to show that for you again. So I've got the banner up here across the top, and in the bottom left-hand corner of the banner, I've got this little image area. This is where I can adjust the image on my banner. So if I click that drop down, I've got a couple of options. I went into the select mode because I don't already have one saved on my computer to upload. So I went to select, and I get all these options. Do I want to select one from the gallery that they put together for us? Do I already know the URL of one that I want to use? Or do I just want to use a good old-fashioned Google search? That's the option that I picked. And then I'm going to type in for this one now. Let's go with a different image. I'm going to type in playground. And it's going to try to find the images of playgrounds. And so then all I have to do is pick one that I like. I like this one. And then I'm going to click select. And it's now going to insert that image as the background for my website. All right, let me pause here again. Any other questions that have come up on the header? We did the website title, we did the page title, and we modified the background on this page. Any other questions?
Caleb?
Yes.
I didn't see the part under number 1 that said enter site name. I only see what it has on yours, which is the RUSD logo. And then, of course.
So, yes, I can show you that. So let me demo that again. I'm glad you kind of brought that up. So does everybody see up here? I'm going to highlight this part first. That portion that I highlighted up there at the top, that is the name of the file in my Google Drive. So I could probably just call this like class website. Then this portion over here next to the Redlands meatball, this says teacher website template. This is the name that everybody will see when they come to this page. So for this, I might call this like Mr. Rothy's website or something like that. But this is going to be the name of the website that shows kind of in the address bar. When somebody loads my website in Chrome, what do you want it to say up there? I can call it Mr. Rothy's website. I can call it Mr. Rothy's class. I can call it Room 42, whatever you want to call it. But I wanted to point out that the name of the file and the name of the website don't have to necessarily be the same thing. And then we put the meatball in there for you already. You can keep that if you like it. If you don't like it, you'll notice everything in Sites works this way. Click on the thing, and then it'll allow you to go over here and delete the logo or add a new logo or, you know, change anything that you want about this. But basically, if you don't like something, click it and use the editing options to make adjustments. All right, let's go ahead now and progress over to the next thing. So then after you get the banner all situated, the next part that you're probably thinking about is how do I add stuff to the website? So for that, you're going to look over on the right-hand side of Google Sites, and you'll notice there's a portion over there called Insert. And there are a bunch of different options there of things that you can insert. You can insert text boxes, images, you can embed, you can upload, you can insert dividers. And if you start scrolling down, you'll see all the different things you can insert. What should you insert on your Google site? Well, the answer is basically whatever you want, okay? But I just want you to know you've got all those options there. So if you're like, I'd really like to embed a PDF here, get the PDF in your Google Drive, go over to the Drive icon, and insert that PDF on your website, and now that PDF of class policies will appear here. Or if you're, you know, like a Canva wizard already, and you made a beautiful little thing that says, welcome to our classroom in Canva or something like that, and you can put that image in your Google Drive or put it on your computer, you can upload that image and put that on your website as well. So you can now start to add anything that you want. Text boxes, images, documents, YouTube videos, maps, all sorts of stuff in there. Google Docs can be embedded in there, but you've got all those options. I want to show you one really quickly that I consider to be a pretty good jump start for your website. So let me jump back over here. And I want to show you, if you look over here at the text box, image, drive, and embed part, right below it, you'll see an area called content blocks. And this is kind of a nice way to get you started. If you look at these 6 examples and you go, oh, yeah, I want to have like an About Me page. In fact, let me jump over to my About Me page. You'll see I've got all these kind of pages across the top here. If I click About Me, it takes us over to About Me. If I look at this and I go, yeah, I want to have an About Me page where there's like a picture of me and then it has my name and it's got some biography information. If you click these content blocks, it will automatically insert that kind of layout onto the page for you. And then you can just add things like your name. Oops. All right. So I really quickly just put my name in there, put a quick little, 2-sentence bio in there. I can click this box, and when I do that, I can upload an image, or I can pick an image from the internet, or I can add something from Drive, or I can add a YouTube video in there, or even a calendar in there, or a map, or whatever you want. But I find those content blocks to be a nice way to kind of get you started, and take that blank page and at least give you a layout that you can start to plug some things in on. But I want you to know that you're not limited just to those content blocks. You can also just add a text box and resize those text boxes and move them around and customize your layout however you'd like. So that's how you start to add some basic content. Let me give you now just a minute or two and let you experiment with adding some content blocks or a text box or an image or something like that, just so that you've got a chance to kind of play around with it right now. Again, you don't have to be building the perfect website. This is more like, can you get used to the tools? Do they function the way that you were anticipating? Are there any things that you discover that you go, oh, I want to ask them about this. I have a question. Those kinds of things.
So Caleb, on the home screen, like your home screen, it has just the things at the top where they hit, but then I see a lot of the elementary teachers have like a big cute button that like,
yes.
they can click. How do I add that?
So for that, you would need to make that big cute button somewhere. And there are a lot of apps out there that you can use to do that. Canva is an awesome app. I know that's what a lot of elementary teachers use to make very cute looking buttons. If that's something you're interested in, that's a little beyond the scope of today, but I can certainly show you how to do that. So you can, send me a follow-up email and say, hey, can you give me a quick tutorial in making cute buttons? The answer is yes. And then what else could you use for that? You can use Google Drawings to make that kind of stuff. Sometimes you can just go look online and do a search for, third grade homework and see if somebody else has made an image already that you might want to borrow. But most of the time when you see those super cute buttons, that's because they've made it in a graphic editing program like Canva and then just inserted that image and turned it as a clickable button. I'll give you a quick little demo even of that.
I'm on Canva looking, but I go down a rabbit hole when I get on Canva.
Me too, all the time. So over here, I'm on our Tech Coach website, and we did this at one point. I'm going to go over here to tutorials, and let's just go to Kami really quick. So we made this little page on Kami, and we knew we wanted to have some links out to these different playlists, but we didn't want them to all be text links. That's kind of boring. So what I did was went into Canva and I found this little circle background and I just customized the colors and added text on top. And then I exported that as a PNG. And then now I had a little clickable button. So once we did that once, we were like, hey, we could take that same technique and use it for all of these different buttons. And then we got fancy and we're like, what about puzzle piece buttons? What about YouTube playlist buttons? And so all of that was just built in Canva by making different little square or circle designs and then importing it. Any other questions about adding the content so far?
I just placed one in the chat box. I'm looking for a place to add some websites like my current page.
So if you want to add some documents, let's say yours in there was like, hey, I've got a Word document with class policies. The first thing to know is you're going to need to convert it from a Microsoft Word document to a Google Doc. The good news is that's very easy. You can drag it into Google Drive and then open it up as a Google Doc and say basically, hey, I want to make this a Google Doc now. Once it is a Google Doc instead of a Word doc, then there is a little button that allows you to add in Google Docs. So let me demonstrate that really quick. So step one, turn it into a Google Doc, either copy and paste or drop your Word doc into Drive and then open it up as a Google Doc. Once it's a Google Doc, then you can scroll down here to the Insert Docs part. Click on that and it'll say, hey, which one of your Google Docs do you want to insert? So we have this thing that we were working on, this technology plan. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to insert it and boom, now it inserts that whole entire Google Doc embedded into the page. And then I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but you'll notice once I inserted it, it's kind of like sized weirdly. I'd like this to look more like a regular sheet of paper. So what I'm going to do is grab the little dots around the outside and I'm going to resize this and kind of decide like how wide do I want this to be? And then how tall do I want this to be? And so I'm going to make it look a little bit more like a piece of paper. And now what it'll be is an embedded part of the website where there's a Google Doc right here and people can look at that doc without having to click a link. So that was Robert's question. Christine, let's see. We can replace to add some websites like my current page. Oh, like links out to other websites? Yep, I can show you how to do that. So here's the easiest way. I'm going to go insert a text box. And so here's just a text box, and I'm going to call this helpful websites. And again, I'm not making this beautiful yet. I just want to show you the functionality. We can make this pretty later. So I'm going to type helpful websites, and then I'm going to leave that just like that. And then the first one I'm going to do is Clever. So all of your links are going to start off with just text or an image. Clever is my text right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get the link out to Clever. Now for us, that is clever.com/in/Redlands. So I just went to that URL, and then I copied it in my address bar. And now I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to highlight on my website the text Clever. And what I'm going to do is, instead of making the text bold or italic or underline, I'm going to click the insert link option. And once I click that, then I can paste in my link. So where do I want that Clever text to link to? Do I want that to link to my About Me page or my class policies page? Or do I want that to link to clever.com/in/Redlands? I'm going to click apply. And now on my page, what you'll notice is I have an area called helpful websites. And then I have a link over here to Clever. And when a student clicks on that, it will take them out to clever.com/in/Redlands. So you can just repeat that process over and over again. Let me also show you on the website, if I insert an image, so I'm going to go up here to the insert image box, and I'm going to select, and I'm going to go do a search for Clever. I didn't find the logo for this. It's probably because it's copyright protected. So you might have to go find that image, first of all, somewhere else. Now, I just happen to have the Clever logo already downloaded and saved on my computer, so I'll show you kind of how that method works. I'm in my Google Drive right now. I'm going to go to our logos folder, which is right here. So let's say you downloaded the Clever logo already and it's saved on your computer, it's saved in your Google Drive. You can just go find it. You can click insert, and then it will insert that logo onto your page. I'm going to resize this. That Clever logo is a little bit larger than I wish it was. So I'm going to make it more like that size. And then I'm going to click on the image itself. I'm going to click on the link icon right here, and I'm going to paste in my Clever link and click apply. And now what I have is a Clever button. If somebody comes over and hovers over that, that icon, they can click it, and that will take them out to Clever. So you've got text-based links or image-based links. Both of those work really well. What's the process if we want to add a site that is blocked? So the first thing you'll need to do is request to have that website unblocked if you believe it's been blocked incorrectly and it is educationally appropriate. For that, you can go to our Tech Coach website and go to the allow list request form, and that's where you can file your allow list request to have a website unblocked. All right, good questions, everybody. Let's move on now to the next phase of this. And so I already kind of teased this, but I want to show you the animated GIF and the slide deck really quick. The next part is organizing and customizing your layout. Once you start to insert text boxes and images, you'll notice that maybe not everything is exactly where you want it to be. So if you take a look at this little animated GIF that I added in here, you'll see how you can resize a text box. So once you start to grab those little blue dots and move them, you'll notice sites is all broken up into columns. So deciding where you want something to be is basically deciding how many columns wide do you want it to be, and then which of the columns do you want it to be? All the way on the left, all the way on the right, exactly in the middle, 2 columns left of center. You've got all of that kind of flexibility in there once you start to click on a text box or an image or something like that. So if you look at the animated GIF here, you'll see that's how we can resize images. That's how we can crop things. That's how we can move text boxes to be to the right of a picture or to the left of a picture, or glued to the top of the picture, like that example right there, or glued onto the bottom of the picture. It's all about basically just picking these objects, resizing them, and then grabbing that little handle at the top of the text box to drag it and move it around. The other thing you'll notice is in the text box, whenever you click in there, you get that little pop-up tools above it where you can do things like change the font size, bold, italics, center aligned, left aligned, all those, Google Docs features that you're used to. Same thing for image. When you click that, you get some options above it like, hey, do you want to crop this thing? Do you want to link this image out somewhere? Do you want to delete the image? Do you want to add alt text? So that's the next thing I want to do, is just give you a chance to kind of move some of your content around, move a text box around, move an image around, get a feel for kind of how you can replace content on your website and reorganize your information. I'll give everybody like 1 or 2 minutes to play around with that, and we'll move on to the next piece. Is there an easy way to add an image from? Oh, it's a cliffhanger, Julie. Add an image from where? Okay, easy way to add an image from Google to your page about you. Yes, let me demonstrate that really quick. I'm going to go back to my website, and I'm going to go to the About Me. And now we're going to add an image from Google. So 2 ways to do that. One is if you use these content blocks, you already have like this little box here, and you can use this to select an image. That'll be from Google. Or if you just wanted to start from scratch, you could click the images icon over here in the insert menu. And then the one that you would click here is select. That's because you're selecting one from the internet that's out there. So again, we've got these options here. Do you want to select something from your Google Drive? Do you want to select it from a link that you already know? Or do you want to like search Google Images for that? So what I would do is click over here in Google Images and search for that image that we're looking for. So Julie, in the chat, can you type in what kind of an image you want me to search for in Google? All right, let's go look for Smokey the Bear. So these are all of the images that Google can find of Smokey the Bear that are already labeled for reuse. So they're licensed for us to be able to legally use them on our websites without having to pre-license the images. And I mention that because this is a really important part of digital citizenship for us and for our students. Is we want to show them, hey, just because you can find a picture online doesn't mean you can use it in your slide deck or your website or something like that. There are rules about this. So one of the nice things is when you're building a website, Google only shows you the pictures that you already have permission to use on a website. So this may not be every picture of Smokey the Bear in the universe, but it's all the ones that we have permission to use. So now you just look through and you try to find the one that you like the most. I kind of like this second one over here. So I'm going to click that. I get the little blue check mark next to it. I'm going to click insert. And now that Smokey the Bear picture is over here on my website. So I like it. It's good. I do notice, though, that it's got like the little letterbox thing at the top and the bottom. So if I click on this Smokey the Bear image and I click these little blue dots, I can kind of shrink this thing up, and that's going to crop it. So hopefully I can crop out those parts that I didn't like so much. I can also click the dots in the corner, and that allows me to stretch it like this. So if I want that to take up approximately half the page, let's see, yeah, that's about it. I can do that, and then I can just kind of resize this until I get it to be just right, and boom, there's my Smokey the Bear from that portion on the website. And then the next thing I can do, this is kind of what we were talking about before. If I click on Smokey the Bear here, I can reorganize this thing. So I can make this image be all the way on the left. I can move it all the way to the right. I can move it one column over from the right, so that would be there. I can also kind of drag it until I find the center, and you'll notice I kind of get those little 2 blue bars on the left and the right, showing me that I have equal distance on the left and the right. That's how I know I've got it in the center. And so there's a centered up Smokey the Bear. But I could also take this Smokey and I could move it up here to the top row, and I could insert it between all of that stuff. or I can move Smokey to the right side of all of that, or I can move Smokey to be in between my name and this text box over here. Or I got to click on Smokey again. So now I got just the blue box around Smokey. I can drag it off. I can put Smokey in place of this box that was there before. But that's essentially how I build my site, is just click and drag and move things around until you get it exactly where you'd like it to be. All right, any other questions about moving content around and organizing things on your page? All right, so that's going to be the bulk of your work, is now just, once we're done, you're going to start adding content and moving things around and messing with it until it looks good to you. There is no secret to this other than keep doing it until you like the way things look, and until you feel like it gets really good looking. So I'm going to jump back over here to our little slide deck and give you a couple of tips. The next part, now that you have the ability to add things, is how do we make a good looking website? And so here are a couple of tips for you. Make a website that is not necessarily your favorite website in the world, but one that's catered to the needs of your audience. Think about it from a student's perspective or a parent's perspective. What's the most important information for them? What's the best way to organize things for them? What might they be looking for? Let's make it easy for them to find the things that they need. The next thing is to leave a lot of white space. Don't overcrowd your website. It's okay to have some white space. Just like this slide, there's a lot of white space on this slide. That makes it much more visually appealing than if I had supersized all the text and crammed a bunch of information in here. Good web pages are graphically rich, so don't overdo the text. Try to use lots of images to lead our eye around the website. And the other thing is, pages in general should be short and focused. It's one of the worst things you can do is put a ton of content on one page and make somebody scroll and scroll and scroll. Why? Because people don't really scroll. So if you've got a whole bunch of things to say, instead of making the page longer and longer and longer, add a second page, add a new page rather than force more scrolling on it. So a couple of tips, you can double back to those later, and that'll help you design really good web pages and something that's pleasing. And the other side of the coin are certainly things like this. You can go way wrong with a website, and Google's going to try their best to help you make a beautiful website, but you can definitely load it up if you start to put too many things happening at once and colors that are clashing and all sorts of animated motion images and things like that. So if the website looks like this, just ask yourself, how often would you go to this website? The answer is never, and we don't want that to be true for our parents or our students as well. And if you want to go down that rabbit hole, there's a link here to other bad web design examples. Sometimes the best way to learn how to do this well is to look at some bad ones and then do the opposite of all of that. All right, so I want to talk about now how you can modify the theme of your page. This is the part that starts to get pretty fun with our web design. So on your website template, we were talking about the insert menu that's over there on the right-hand side, and you might have noticed up at the top, you have 3 different tabs: Insert tab, Pages tab, and Themes tab. Let's go ahead and click on the Themes tab together right now. And when you click on themes, you'll notice you have a couple of areas. Now, they've changed the interface slightly, but you'll see it still matches pretty similarly what we have over here in my slide deck, if you take a look at that. So step 1 is click on themes. Step 2 is to pick a general theme. So they've got some in there that are automatically created by Google. That's a good place to start. Some of the Google themes are Simple, Aristotle, Diplomat, Vision. You can click on each one of those and see how it changes the look and feel of your website. So just kind of click on a few of those and find the one that feels good to you. Or if you don't like any of them and you want to get super crazy, you can use that custom area up at the top and build your own custom theme. Now, once you find a theme that you kind of like, I'm going to, let me demo this for you on mine as well. Let's see. Here we go. I'm right now on Simple. I'm going to switch mine over to Vision. And so if you haven't seen this yet, go ahead and watch my screen and you'll see what it looks like. I'm not changing any of the content, but as soon as I change Vision, the look and feel of my website changes. The fonts change, you know, they're bold now. It's much more rounded. The color scheme kind of changes. And so this is a nice way where you can have the same website all year long, but just come in one day and pick a different theme or modify a color, and then suddenly it refreshes your website with no extra work on your part. So it's kind of nice to be able to change your theme whenever you want. I picked Vision, And over here, once I picked vision, you'll notice the next step is to kind of pick your accent color. Now, the one that it gave me as a default is blue. And if you like that, you can stick with it. But if you go, hey, purple, that's the shirt I'm wearing today. I want my accent color to be purple. You can click purple as your accent color, and it changes to that. And if you don't like any of those 5 defaults, you also have the little paint bucket tool where you can pick your own accent color. So you can go with whatever you want. You can match it to the, if your school's colors are blue and yellow, you can pick the exact blue or the exact yellow that matches your school. Whatever you want to do, you can pick your accent color. And the other thing you can modify is your font style. So the default for Vision is bold, but I could change it to a modern font, or I could change it to the classic. And those are all ways with just a couple of clicks that you can really quickly change the look and feel of your website. So feel free to play around with themes for a second. Feel free to play around with customizing the color, the accent color, and the font style on yours, and find one that looks pretty good. I cannot, all right, Kristen, I'm taking a look at yours. I cannot duplicate an already existing set of pages to my new site. When you say duplicate an already existing set of pages, where are those set of pages?
So it's on another Google site.
Okay.
And I can't seem to, like, I went to go, like, there was no option to duplicate the page. I was able to duplicate it, but it was just within the existing site, and I can't seem to copy and paste it into my new site.
Okay. Let me do a quick little demo for you.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I can't get you all the way there, but I can get you kind of sort of close. So yeah. I'm going to go to my entire screen. So there's no way, you're right, there's no way to grab this whole page and duplicate it to another site. But what you can do is duplicate sections. So you'll notice over here on About Me, I've got Smokey the Bear, I've got my name, and I've got this. So I've got 2 text box and an image. And if I click over here, kind of on the side, I get a blue box that goes around that whole entire section. What you can do is copy and paste a section from one website to another. So you're going to get the blue box around the whole section. You will then do a Control-C to copy it. I've never tried it.
Perfect. I get it.
Okay. And then just open up that other website. So I already kind of grabbed one here a second ago. I open up another website, and if I just Control-V, it pastes that whole section in here.
Yeah.
And it matches the theme of that other one. So you'll have to do it over and over again, but that'll at least give you a method to be able to do that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, as we're talking about themes, any other questions that have come up? All right, let's move on to the next portion. So I want to talk now about pages. You'll notice we haven't talked about the pages menu yet. So if you click that little middle option in the right-hand menu, that'll give you a list of all the pages that exist on your website right now. Now, if you made a copy of our template, you'll notice that we already started you off with some pages. There's a home page, an About Me page, a class policies page, a materials page, and a links page. You can keep all of those if you want, or you can modify some of those. So if you're like, I'm not going to have a links page, but I do want to have a homework page, you can change the links to homework, or you can delete the links page altogether. Or if you decide you like our pages, but you want to add 20 new pages, you've got a little plus button in the bottom right that will allow you to add new pages into this. So you can add as many pages as you want. They're free. Go crazy. Add as many as you'd like. Customize whatever's there. Delete pages. Make pages invisible for a little while. And then the other thing, if you look at the animated GIF that I have up on the slide deck right now, you'll notice if you click the jelly bean button on the right side of a page, that it allows you to take that page and set it as a home page, or duplicate a page, or delete a page. But you can also click and drag pages to reorganize them. So if you decide that you want your links page, let me do this. If you decide you want your links page to be after About Me, you just come over, you click on links, you get the blue box on the outside, and then you just drag it up to be in between About Me and class policies. That's how you can reorganize your pages. Or if you decide, let's move links back down to the bottom, same thing, line at the bottom. Let's say we want to add a new page over here. I'm going to click this button. We're going to add a new page called About. Let's see. We're going to call it Homework Policy because I can't think of anything else right now. And so that adds a new page called Homework Policy. But you might decide that you want Homework Policy to be a sub-page of class policies. Well, that's easy to do too. I'm going to click Homework Policy. Instead of dragging it between class policies and materials, I'm going to drag it into class policies. So I'm going to hover over class policies. I'm going to get that box that goes all the way around the outside. And when I let go, you'll notice Homework Policy is now a sub-page of class policies. And if you look up here at my toolbar at the top, I've got Home, I've got About Me, I've got Class Policies. And when I hover over Class Policies, you can see Homework Policy as a sub-page. So now that you know that, there's nothing special about a subpage. It's just a regular website page that you drag to be inside another category. But you can now start to get creative with how you want to organize your pages and how you want to insert them in here. So feel free to play with that. And I want to pause and give everybody a second to ask me any questions about organizing pages, nesting those, moving those around, things like that. Fairly straightforward, right? All right, let's move on to the next piece. In the slide deck, the next thing you'll see are just some page ideas. If you're like, okay, what should I put on here? We put some to get you started, but here's some additional ideas for you. Pick all of them, pick none of them, pick some of them. It's totally up to you. Just some ideas to get you going. Really, I always like to think of trying to make the smallest website possible to start. And then as new ideas come to you, you can always add extra pages down the road. But don't feel like you need to have, a website with 20 pages right out of the gate. Maybe your website only has 2 pages to begin with. Just start with whatever the key information is, and then know that you can always add to this as you go. All right, next thing on our slide deck is embedding content. This is where you're adding something other than a text box or an image, but you're adding something from your Google Drive. Maybe it's a PDF, maybe it's a Google Doc, maybe it's a slide deck. Maybe you've got like your notes from yesterday's lesson and you made them all in Google Slides and you want to put them up on the website so that parents and students can view those notes later. You don't have to like print it and do a bunch of weird things. You can just embed your slide deck straight over here onto your Google site. So you've got some options in the different menus of ways that you can embed content. The one thing I want to mention really quickly is if you add something from your Google Drive, you need to make sure that you set the permissions of that to be anybody with the link can view. So if right now you've got like a Google Doc that is private to you and you embed it on your website, you'll be the only one that can see it on your website. When other people go, they'll see a little message that says, hey, you don't have permission to view this. So before you put anything from your Drive on your website, just make sure you've adjusted your permissions. The other thing I want to mention is you can also put whole folders from Google Drive on here. So if you have a folder called Module 3 Notes, you can embed that entire folder on there. And if you make the permissions, anybody with the link can view to the folder and all the stuff in the folder. Now students can get that. I know for all my secondary teachers on here, a lot of the time you'll do that with your notes. Or you'll do that with like corrected homework examples and things like that. You don't have to embed every single one of those one by one. You just put them all in a folder, drop the folder embedded in your site, and then boom, now you've got chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and students can access stuff that way. Can you embed an interactive Symbaloo page? Possibly. Let me do a quick demo of that. I don't have a Symbaloo page, but I can show you some other things that I could embed. So I'm over here on, let's go to the links page over here. And I'm going to go to Insert. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click Embed, which sounds scary at first, but it's really not. When you click Embed, you've got 2 options. You can embed by URL or you can embed with the embed code. If you know about embed codes, this is very powerful. Feel free to use it. If that all sounds like Greek to you, ignore it. Pretend I never said it. But think about this by URL instead. I'm going to go out to a website. Let's go to Clever. Let's go to clever.in. So I'm going to go grab a website, clever.com/in/Redlands. I'm going to grab the link to that website, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to drop it in here. So you can try the same thing right now with your Symbaloo page if you've got the link to that. I'm going to embed it in here. And then what's going to happen is Sites is going to go out to Clever, and it's going to ask Clever, hey, do you allow us to embed pages? And Clever came back and said, yes, we do. In fact, we allow you to embed the entire page. And so if I click Insert, it's going to insert basically like a little window onto this website that is Clever's website embedded right on this page. So you can go to Symbaloo. I don't know if they allow it or not, but you can grab your Symbaloo link, try to drop it in there.
Thank you. It
works?
allowed it. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look at that. All right, let's bring this thing in for a landing now. I have one other thing I want to share with you, and then I have a little survey that I want to ask you to fill out for me. Once you are done building everything out, the last step is to publish your website, because right now you're just kind of building it for you and nobody can see it. So I'm going to go over here to my website, and again, I want you to just watch this instead of doing it right now, because yours probably isn't ready to be published yet. But I'm going to go to my website, and let's pretend I was done with my website and I was ready to publish it. There is this big publish button in the upper right-hand corner. When you click that, it's going to say, hey, what do you want your web address to be? And I want you to look at this part over here on my screen right now. All of ours are going to start like this: sites.google.com/redlandsschools.net/ and then the stuff after that slash can be whatever you want. So it suggested for me, Mr.Rothy's-website. That is available. I can claim that URL right now. If instead you wanted to try like room 24, it'll check and it'll go, oh, sorry, somebody's already taken redlandsschools.net/room 24. So you can't have that address. But if you make it like roomy 24, I don't know, it basically allows you to customize your URL. But once somebody picks one URL, that's theirs forever. So you kind of got to think about what you want your URL to be. And then it's a good old fashioned land grab to see who can get which URLs first. So I'm going to go with something that just looks like nonsense, because I don't want to take somebody's really good URL. Now, here's the really important part. Down here where it says who can view my site. Right now, the only people that can view it are specific people. The specific people are me. But I want a website that everybody can see, not just students in the district that are logged into their Google accounts, but I want parents. So I want a website that doesn't require you to have a redlandsschools.net Google account or anything like that. I'm going to click Manage here, and I'm going to go down to this and see how I want to do this. Drafts. When I'm working on the website, who do I want to be able to see the draft? Right now it's set to restricted. That means only me. But the published website, right now that's also set to restricted. I'm going to change that to public, because I want parents to be able to view this as well as students and other teachers and things like that. I'm going to click Done. And you're going to notice down here, now I have this whole thing that says who can view my site. It says anyone. That's the big key. So you have to kind of modify that in advance. And then once you're ready, you can click Publish. And now anybody that goes to that link would be able to view my website. But I know what you're thinking. Wait, what was that link? I don't remember that link. Is there an easy way to get the link? Yes, there is. Up here in the upper right, you'll notice there's a little link button over here. This allows you to copy the published site link. So I'm going to click that. Here's the published site link. Here's the link to my website, sites.google.com/redlandsschools.net/NASDO, all this crazy stuff. I'm going to click copy this link. The link is now copied to my clipboard, and I can now email that link out to parents. I could put that link in Parent Square. Once the new website rolls over, I could give that to my school webmaster and say, hey, here's the link to my website. Can you put that on our new school page so that shows up there? I can do anything I want with that link. In fact, I'm going to drop that link into the chat right now so that you can believe me. You can click that link right now and go to it, and you'll see that really awful website that I built live in front of you today is there. But it at least will kind of give you a little example of what these websites look like once they are published. And you'll see some weird things in there, like the Google Doc that I embedded. You'll be able to see the embedded Clever page, all that kind of stuff. So that's it. That's the whole entire process. And again, if you forget some of those published things, you can always go back to my slide deck here where I kind of walk you through what to do. Just remember this interface has changed slightly from when I made that GIF. So you have to go into the part where you manage your permissions and set it to be available to the public. And once it's available to the public, then you can publish it, and then you've got your URL. All right, the last thing I have for you as we wrap this up is we always do a little survey at the end of our sessions. And that survey is a chance for you to just give us some feedback on, you know, the quality of the session and did we do a good job? And these are some of the metrics that that we use to kind of, you know, justify the work that we do. So if you wouldn't mind taking a quick minute and completing that survey for me, let me drop that link into the chat as well. It's just 3 questions, so and it's all anonymous. I'd appreciate a little bit of your time just to log and let us know that you came to the session and found some value in it. That would be wonderful. And then the last thing I want to mention is I'm available for you as a resource after this. So you're going to get started on building your website, and you're inevitably going to come across something where you're like, okay, that's not exactly working the way that I wanted it to, or Caleb showed us this awesome thing but I forgot it. You can always reach out to me at any point. And I can kind of help you out. We can either hop into a meet together, or we can just trade some emails back and forth, or we can, you know, I can even come out to your classroom if that'd be helpful, something like that. But I'm here as a resource for you. I'm not back in the office until August 1st next, but starting August 1st, you can reach out to me and I can give you some help at that point. All right, I will stay on here. If anybody's got additional questions for me, I'm available for you. We can hang out as long as you'd like. But for everybody else, I want to thank you for coming today and spending a little bit of time with me. I hope this was helpful and at least has built up some confidence for you to be able to get going with this and trying it on your own. You are all officially excused now. I do have the attendance for today all set, so we'll make sure that we get this in there and get you compensated for your time. Appreciate you spending some time here. Hopefully it was good and helpful for you. Oh, thanks. You guys are all very kind in the chat right now. I appreciate the kudos. Rachel, you were asking, was there a sign in? We're going to use the power of kind of the Google Meet session to do that for us. It's going to give me a roster of who was here. And so I'll use that for the official sign in and make sure everybody gets credit for this.
Thank you. I had a problem trying to figure out the sound at the beginning, so I was going in and out a couple of times. So
yeah, that'll be totally fine. The software will pick up, like, you know, when you came in and how long you were here and all that good stuff. So
beautiful.
You're covered.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Okay, Terry, I'm just catching up on some of these questions. Can you make your bit.ly so we can make our own copy so we're able to explore some of those website examples of our own? Were you able to get that bit.ly at the beginning?
Yeah, I got it. But I was trying to make my own copy so I could go back to it later.
Sure.
If I'm opening examples, I'm not messing with anybody else right now, right?
No, not at all.
We're all on the same one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions for me? All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this meeting. If you haven't had a chance to do the survey yet, definitely would appreciate your thoughts on that. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your summer. And we'll see you here in a couple of weeks as we kick off another great school year. Thanks for coming today, everybody. Bye.